Welcome back. In this video, we'll be learning about what are Dart variables. I will be showing to you the basic difference between all sort of variable and a declaration, so you won't be getting any error in your future projects. So without any further ado, if you haven't seen the previous video, kindly watch that and let's get started. So here I have got my small void main method. So what I'll do, I'll show you the different type of variables. So in Dart, we have variables declaration called as var, dynamic, constant and final. Now let me write all of them here. Now all of these variables share a common thing between them and also a different thing between them. Now let me try to explain the difference between dynamic and variable first of all. Now the usefulness of both of dynamic and var variable name is exactly the same, that is they can be redeclared again and again. We can redeclare their values, their data again and again, while in the case of final and const we cannot redeclare the value again and again. Now to put it under the code, what I can do, I can simply declare a new variable of dynamic. Now as the name suggests, the variable data can be completely dynamic, that is it can be changing time to time. So here I'll simply say some let's say some variable of dynamic n should be equal to 20 or 12, right? So here I am saying that my dynamic variable of variable name of n has a value of integer, that is 12. Now in the previous tutorial I have explained you the data types, so kindly watch that if you don't know anything about that. So right now what I can do, here I'll simply say okay, my n is not 12 but my n is 24 or 25. If I do this, nothing will be going wrong because the dynamic variable can be reinstantiated, that is redeclared again and again. So here what I'll do, I'll simply say print n. Now at this point, if I open my command shell and if I run the command, you know the better command, that is dart run main.dart file, right? So let's try to run the following command and you can see you will be getting the value of 25 here. Now the dynamic variable can be also explicitly redeclared with a different data type. That is, here you can see my dynamic variable of n is 12, but what I'll do, instead of 25, I'll say my n is not 25 but my n is false. And here you can see I won't be getting any error because the dynamic variable can also hold different type of data type it as well. That is, along with data, it can also hold different type of data type. Now what I'll do, I'll use the variable known as var, that is keyword known as var. So here I'll simply say var n2 is equal to, let's say 32. So here I said my n2 is 32 and here I'll say my n2 is false. But you know, as soon as I'll do this, I'll get an error, that is all the variables having a basic data type of var cannot have different data type. They may have different data but not different data type. What I mean by that, if I simply say n2 is equal to 56, I won't be getting any error because initially I declared my n2 will be an integer, that is n2 is 32. So I have to declare, that is I have to redeclare the same value having integer itself, not boolean, not string, nothing, only integer. Also, if I simply say my n2 is not 32 but a false, I'll be getting an error at n2 is equal to 56 because n2 at false is true, that is n2 can be declared to be boolean but n2 cannot be declared as an integer because initially we assigned our n2, that is our primary n2, top level n2 to be false. If I simply print it out, let's say print n2, and if I simply comment my n2 is equal to 56 and if I run my code, I'll be getting the value of n2 which will be true, right? Now this is how things will be going on. Dynamic variable can hold different data type and different data. Var keyword can hold different data but not a different data type. Whatever data type you will be declaring at the top level, that will be the same, right? Now this is the difference between dynamic and var. Now let's move forward and let's also learn about final and const variable. Now both dynamic and var keyword, that is var data type, can be used to redeclare data again and again, that is reinitiate data from time to time. But under the case of final and const, value cannot be changed, that is we cannot change our value from time to time. So to put it under perspective, what I can do, I can simply say a constant, let's say address, should be equal to a string of India. Let's say my address is equal to India. Now if I simply say here my address is equal to, let's say, Sri Lanka, you see I will be getting an error which will be a runtime error, which will be nothing but constant variables cannot be redeclared again and again. We cannot redeclare our address one more time because it is constant, it is fixed, right? But the same thing can be performed under a case of dynamic or variable, right? So we cannot redeclare our constant variable one more time because it is fixed, it is not mutable, it is immutable, right? So let's move forward. Let's delete this line, or let's say let's comment this line, right? If I simply try to print address, we are okay to go. The address will be printed, but the address that address cannot be changed again and again. Now same thing for final. If I say here my final, let's say username is equal to xyz, and if I simply say here username is equal to some new xyz, I will be getting the same error, that is final variables cannot be redeclared again and again. If you see here, you will be getting the same thing, that is final variable can only be set once. You should not be redeclaring your final variable or constant variable one more time, right? So this is how things will be going on. If I comment this thing out and if I simply print my username, everything will be fine. I won't be getting any error because we have declared our final username only one time, and that's okay for Dart, right? Now let's try to understand the difference between constant and final. Now you may be wondering, right, if constant and final are same, then why there is a need for Dart, that is a team, to make two different variables? Now let's try to understand this. What happens underneath is constant variables cannot be redeclared again and again at the compile time, but while under a case of final, variables cannot be redeclared again and again at the runtime. Now to put it under perspective, what I can do, I can say, let's say constant birthday should be equal to some day, right? Now if I say birthday should be equal to some new day, I will be getting error, normal thing, because constants cannot be redeclared again. But what I can do, if I simply say my final birthday should be equal to date, that is date time dot now, alright, birthday 2 is equal to date time dot now, you can see I won't be getting any error. But you can see the date time dot now can be changing again and again, right? You are getting that we are not changing the value at the compile time but at the runtime. Similarly under a case of constant of birthday, right? Now I cannot do this thing. If I simply say here my constant birthday is also datetime.now, you can see I will be getting an error. That's because constant value should not be redeclared at the runtime but at the compile time. Now the error should be the same, that is the constructor being called is a const constructor. Try to remove that. We can declare the value which can change over time at the runtime with the help of final, but we cannot change anything with the help of constant, right? So this is the basic difference. I hope you have learned what is the difference between constant and final. Constant variables are needed to be run at compile time, while final variables can hold the current value which might change in the future at the runtime, right? Now just by watching tutorial you won't be understanding it. You have to write your own code and try to differentiate between constant, var, final and dynamic keyword. Now this was a short and small video but very important for you with the help of perspective, that you will be building some bigger projects which will be laying these foundations, right? So I hope this video has helped you a lot. If you haven't understood anything, kindly drop your doubt under a comment, or you can DM me anytime on my Instagram or LinkedIn. So I'll see you in the next chapter of our Dart course. Have a good day.